Hi everybody, this is Matt, and we're back with another TrackMania Mesh Modeler tutorial. And in this one, we're going to show how to scale blocks and create giant blocks. So we're going to just be resizing the straight default block here. So to do that, we go to item mode and then click the plus to go. Actually, we don't click the plus, that would be to create a new item, but we click the one on the right here to create a new item from a selected block. And we'll click on our block to select it. Then click the gear next to mesh so we can modify the mesh. Press control, so we have two layers here. So one is these borders or collisions, and then the other layer is kind of the rest of the block. So a lot of the built-in blocks have these two layers that are actually separate. So we have to scale each one up individually. So we'll just start with the geometry layer. So we'll hit Control A to select everything, click on scale, and then set the tool step to 100%. And then we'll click on the corner and just drag it one length. So this will be essentially double the size. And if you want to scale only vertically or horizontally, like you can select the orange dots on the different sides of the item to scale in a certain direction. But the corner will scale everything and keep the proportions the same. So now that we've scaled this one, let's go ahead and we can hide that and scale the border layer as well. So we should still have our tool step on 100%. We'll click this, the corner, drag it along the blue line and scale it up. So now if we show both of these, we can see that they're lined up perfectly. There's a lot of edges on the custom blocks, which make the block size very large. So if you're gonna try and make like a whole track with this, you're somewhat limited in the number of items that you can use, or you can actually delete the borders. So like, for example, if I was going to go into the geometry layer, you can like select different faces and hit delete, and you can delete parts of the block that you don't want. Or you could even just keep just the face itself, and just by like clicking on that or like copying to a new layer or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'll call it giant straight. I guess that's a fine name. And then we'll go to the placement parameters. So for the horizontal size, just to make it a little easier to place, I'm going to say 16. So we can place it every like 16 meters. And normally a block is 32 meters wide. And the vertical size will say 8. And the fly step will have 1. So this will be great placement parameters to make it easy to place and kind of snap to the grid. And so we can actually line this up directly in the middle here, because we selected 16. So if we had it on 32, then it would essentially be like here or here. So we have it right in the middle, and you can see there's an offset here as well. In our case, we should be able to jump over that. So why don't we just make like a little gap there, and we can we'll have enough speed to kind of clear that. But because we scaled it up and made the item thicker, if you wanted this to line perfectly, I guess we could demo that, and essentially you just add an offset. So if you click the settings here and go back into the item and click on placement parameters, the grid vertical offset, like let's say for example we set this to 2, that'll offset our item by 2 meters when we place it. And so let's see if that was actually, I'm not sure if that's actually like the right offset that we need. But you can play around with offsets to make things easier to place. So we'll go ahead and just make like a couple giant blocks there. And then we can do the same thing with an endpoint or an ending block. So let's go to find our finished block. And so let's say we were going to end it as like a giant finish line here. We'll go into item mode. Create new item from selected block, select the end block here, go into the mesh. There's 3, so the end line has 3, I guess, the spawn, position, trigger, and geometry. So we're gonna have to resize all of these. So let's start with the geometry, select all, set our scale to 100%, and we'll go ahead and scale that up. The next thing we need to do is the trigger. And so the trigger is essentially what point you need to pass through in order to trigger the finish line. And so it's kind of this small curve, which would line up perfectly with a normal size block, but we need to scale that up as well. So let's scale that up 100%. And you can see that this doesn't actually like line up perfectly. So we might need to move it using the move tool. So click on move. We can kind of like, we'll have to move it up a little bit. And then we'll also have to move it over along the red axis. And I think I might have moved it too high. Yeah, that seems pretty good. So essentially, as long as the car passes through this trigger point, then it'll trigger the finish line. So let's see what the spawn position looks like. Currently, it's right here. If we look at our geometry, I mean, that seems, let's see, spawn position. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure like for an endpoint if that matters, but if you were doing like a checkpoint or a starting point, you would have to move that spawn position in order to line it up properly with the block. So we'll go ahead and save this. Call it giant finish line. And let's use the same placement parameters we did for the other block, which I think was 16, 8, and 2. So we should be able to line things up nicely with our block. And there we go. So that's the... Oh, I realize now, I think I did the horizontal offset and not the vertical offset, which is probably what we wanted. Yeah, or no, this is vertical offset. So maybe we need a horizontal offset for this one. Let's see if that helps us align it properly. We'll just go into the free placement mode for the sake of the video and line that up. Okay. Yeah, let's just check and see if there's a bump here or not. So this should be, yeah. So you can see that it triggered the checkpoint. So that's pretty much it. That's how you resize blocks. It can be a little bit finicky, but let's go ahead and validate our track. So we'll start on the normal size, and then we'll jump onto our supersized blocks. So there you have it. It's how to resize blocks in TrackMania. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.